Okay, we are live. Welcome everybody to this session of PlottCon. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm really excited about this one. I'm going to give everybody a second to join because there's been a lag joining from YouTube and all the other platforms. Okay, there we go. I see that people have joined. There's always that lag before we start, but I'm excited about this session. This is what makes an unforgettable story, and we have some brilliant geniuses, experienced writers here with us that are going to tell us all about how you can make an unforgettable story. And they did all their homework and they know the assignment and they know what to say. Now, this is going to be a very relaxed panel. We're really excited to have everybody. I'm going to be mostly moderating. So the way we're going to do this, I have some ground rules, some safe words. No, just kidding. But what we're going to do here is, so first of all, we're going to start with some easy questions, and then we'll get into some more in-depth questions. But first, I just want you to all, when it's your time, I'm going to have you introduce yourselves, and I'm going to go in the order that I see you on my screen, just like a circle on my screen. So that's going to go Ekello, then Danica, then Kevin, and then Ines. Okay, we're just going to go in that order when you answer questions. Okay, so know your order. And we're going to ask for questions from the audience. So if you're watching, get ready with some questions that you can ask later if you want to ask them anything. And then we're going to have some questions from a non-human entity that will be joining us. No, we're going to have some AI generated questions that we'll see what it can come up with and see if it can come up with any good questions for you guys. So do you have any questions about how we're going to do this before we start? This is your one chance to ask questions. No, just kidding.
You're just gonna say things to us, and we are gonna. Oh, let me think. Say things back.
You understand? Yeah, you've got
I'm
it.
out. All right, see you guys.
Too hard for Kevin.
Too rich for my blood.
Someone should have memoed you in. That's for sure.
So just spend a few seconds introducing yourself, either where you work or what you do or what you write, anything that you would like to say to this huge audience that is watching us. So go ahead in that order. So Ekello, Danica, Kevin, and Ines.
Hello, my name is Ekello Harrid, and I have a pretty kind of long standing career with story. I first started out as an actor where I learned story from the actor's point of view, the character's point of view, and I seeped out into directing. And then I spent a lot of time on stage, musical theater, in big, gigantic shows at some of the biggest theaters in Seattle. I have been acting and singing and dancing and directing and steeped in story for 25 years. I am now 54 years of age. I guess it's now 30 years. Ho, 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 ho. And so I came into the independent kind of publishing world back when the Kindle thing blew up, and I wrote over 1 million words and nobody ever saw them. And then when AI came out and was a bit of a promise to help me improve my craft, I decided that I'd like to learn how to do this and learn how to do this in front of everyone. So I started a channel called The Future Fiction Factory. And through many interactions with the community, I now work at the Future Fiction Academy. I am a fiction engineer over there, and I also run their YouTube channel too. So that's me, and I even have a podcast. Go ahead. I felt like I rambled.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm Danica Favorite, and I'm the community manager at Publish Drive, where we help people distribute their books to the largest global audience. And we also have some super cool AI tools to help you with your metadata as well as your book covers. So doing a lot of cool things there, but I come at it from the author's perspective. And I'm also a multi-published author. I'm both indie and traditionally published. So I've been writing for Harlequin for a lot of years, actually. But I also am indie published. So it's kind of fun because I've just always been in love with stories. And I love to read. I love to interact with authors. And for me, it's exciting to be in a position where I can not only write my own stories and get them out, but also help other people get their stories out. So that's a little bit about me.
And Danica, before we move on, you're at an airport, right? Are you going to be able to join us for the whole time, or do you have to catch a plane pretty soon?
I am. So I am in the airport right now. I found a cozy little corner in one of the lounges. So yeah, I'm actually headed to Budapest for the Published Drive's semi-annual team meeting and then our company Christmas party. And yes, I have plenty of time. I actually planned my day and then I found out my flight is even delayed. So
Okay. So you'll be here.
I will have plenty of time. So no worries there.
Okay, great. Sorry to cut you off, Kevin. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. So I'm Kevin Tumlinson. I'm currently on an airplane right now to Budapest. I'm a thriller writer. Actually, I write cross genre, but I mostly write like archaeological thrillers. It's been my mainstay genre. I'm a podcaster. You've probably heard of me on every show you've ever listened to, except for Ekello's show so far. But we can talk. You may know me best from Draft Digital. I was the director of marketing and PR for Draft Digital for close to a decade and left there last year. So after a long career there, I decided to go back to, I'm currently full-time back as a novelist again, and pretty okay with that. So that's Kevin in a nutshell.
Go ahead, Ines.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ines. I write kissing books, and I am a television screenwriter turned romance novelist. I write spicy romantasy, steamy contemporary, and some hot shifter romance.
And Ines has an upcoming template that's coming out in Plottr that we announced at our first day, the first session, the 12 stages of intimacy. We're really excited for that template in Plottr.
Yes, I do.
All right, so we're going to start with a few softball questions, some easy ones, some kind of get to know you guys so you feel a little more comfortable talking in the group, because hopefully we'll get into some important feelings about writing and books. Part of the point of PlottCon has been to celebrate writing and to get people excited to be writers, because it's such a cool field to be in. Writing and storytelling is such a human thing that's happened since the very beginning of humanity, and telling stories has been so culturally important. And so we just want to celebrate that and also give people an idea of what has worked on people that have read a lot and written a lot. So, and we have until 10 minutes before the end of the hour. So we don't have a lot of time. So you'll have to keep your answers a little bit short, but we're going to have some fun here. So first question is a get to know you question. What have you done that would most impress your 5-year-old self? We're actually going to reverse this and go Ines first and then the other way around the circle.
I get to take naps and I enjoy them. That's what would impress my 5-year-old self the most. Being my own boss. If you're a Clifton Strengths person, my number one strength is discipline. My number two strength is achiever. So I'm up every morning in this chair at 8 a.m., sometimes before, and I'm writing. I write until about 11:30 in the morning. And then after that, I can do whatever I want, including take a nap if I want to. And I enjoy it.
Nice.
5-year-old Kevin wanted to be a writer and wrote a book when he was 5 years old. He also wanted to be on radio and talk to people that way, wanted to be on TV, wanted all those things. So my 5-year-old self would be very proud to find out that I've done all the things that 5-year-old Kevin wanted to do.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow. So 5-year-old Danica also would be completely impressed with herself. And I relate to a lot of what Ines and Kevin said as well, because 5-year-old Danica loved stories too. And she loved books and she loved traveling. Now, 5-year-old Danica would not have been able to conceive of going to Budapest, of all places. Number one, back then, it was a strongly Eastern Bloc country and not recommended for Americans to visit. So just the fact that I get to go do that and write books and oh my goodness, you guys, I don't know about you, but I have gotten to meet some of my author heroes.
Yeah.
And every time I do, 5-year-old Danica's like, If I encounter any of you and I do that, I'm sorry. It's just 5-year-old Danica.
I think my 5-year-old self would be impressed with the fact that I grew up and became a god. And what do I mean by that? I mean that I get to create universes from just literally half of a thought, and then take that thought to the nth degree if I feel like it, or just pull back to one person's story inside of that universe. And I can affect whatever happens to that real person in my imagination, built from my imagination. I think my 5-year-old self would be thoroughly impressed with my gratitude.
That is a pretty big.
I want to change my entire answer.
But it's the truth, right? I mean, no one writes or creates fiction or any of this stuff and to not get that surgeon's thrill of saving a life, that that idea that you could put a fire out and save somebody's livelihood.
Yeah.
All of those things are in our imagination, and it just feels at times godlike.
It's scary the power that we have. Okay, so next question. Tell me one of your top 5 movies. So we're going to start with something a little easier, movies. One of your top 5. It can be anyone. And you don't have to go into great detail of why or anything. Just one of your top 5 movies. Ekello?
One of my top 5 movies. And this is not pandering to the fact that I work at the Future Fiction Academy, but we were working recently on these things where we were trying to figure out plot. And we're just, you watch some movies and you figure out, why was this movie a hit? The movie we had this week, one was Sense and Sensibility, but the other one, Pride and Prejudice, but the other one was Die Hard. Not only a great action movie, not only a great story of a love story between a man and a woman, but an incredible Christmas movie. And I don't care what anybody says, it is a Christmas movie. Every character in it has a nice little arc. Everybody from the limo driver all the way up to John McClane himself. That movie right there was one of the first times I ever saw somebody transform into something completely different right in front of my eyes. From being John Addison or whatever that guy's name on Moonlighting, which was just the schlub. David Addison to freaking John McClane and Yippee-ki-yay in it. It was amazing.
Favorite Christmas movie right there.
It's so good.
It's the best one.
Anyway, Danica.
All right. Well, it was so funny. I was trying to figure out, like, what movie should I pick? What movie should I pick? Because I have a hard time choosing favorites. But I'm going to go with I'm going to go with my favorite Christmas movie, which is an oldie. It's called Meet Me in St. Louis.
Oh, clang, clang, clang with the trolley.
Yes. Like, oh my goodness. And there's Christmas music playing behind me. So I'm kind of in the festive mood, but I love that movie. I love watching it every Christmas, and it's charming. And oh my goodness, it's a musical. I love musicals. And to me, it's just this beautiful, heartwarming story about family and coming together as a family at Christmas. And romance writer obviously loves the romance lines as well in that, and just all of the, love between couples, love between family members. And seriously, if you have not watched it, it is black and white. It is an oldie, but oh my goodness, so worth it.
It's so good.
Okay, so I'm only limited to my top 5. I've got like 150 favorite movies, but And
all of us only did one, but
we're good though, because all of them, all 150 are Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters. So, I think between that and David Addison on Moonlighting, Bill Murray's Peter Venkman, those two are foundational to my personality as an adult. So Ghostbusters is my all-time top favorite and the best storytelling film of all time. I'm just going to go right out there and say it right now. I would have said Die Hard, but Ekello took Die Hard. So Ghostbusters. Ekello. I'll get it right by the end of the con.
You got it.
Mine would be John Wick. The exposition is unmatched.
I have yet to see John Wick.
Oh,
I can't get. I see him with the puppy, and then that's
what gets me. I
have to stop. I'm like, ooh, girl, you did better than me. I couldn't even get. And I hear that on the other side of the puppy, it's a great movie.
That's what I hear.
Puppy. It's as for if we're talking about craft, you spend 20 minutes not knowing who this person is, not knowing what is happening. You see events unfolding, and then the way that the exposition unfolds and explains the backstory, it builds the world. Yeah. It's told through what's called a novice character who makes a mistake. And then as people are explaining to him the mistake, you start to understand the gravity of the mistake and who this character is. I've never seen exposition done like that in any other form.
Is there a cut without the puppy? Can I get like a special edition
where they just get it so that we don't get to see the puppy?
I want to go straight, or maybe I can find online where I can just jump into the movie. I'll fast forward.
You don't see the puppy, you hear the puppy.
Oh, God.
That's worse. Oh, my gosh.
That's way worse.
That's like the Steven Spielberg shark thing, It's even worse. All right.
I'm just going to say right now, I have a new life goal unlocked. I want to watch John Wick with Ines and have her explain the movie to me.
For it? Okay.
Yeah, I really want the new life goal unlocked. Like, we need to do this.
I will pause. We won't be watching. We will be pausing, and I will explain.
All right.
I'm here for it. I am so down.
I accept your terms.
Okay.
All right. So, Ekello, you said that you guys watch movies often to figure out how they work.
Actually, this is a new development inside the Future Fiction Academy. We've had different classes on how to use artificial intelligence, on how to build things, how to use different parts of other genres to enhance your genre, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we wanted to talk about the hits. What makes people end up writing a bunch of books inside of anything in any Jane Austen universe? You know what I mean? What happened in 2005 when Pride and Prejudice came out that made everybody and their sister sit down and write a bunch of Regency sort of romances and all of those? What compelled them to do that? What compelled me to? I wrote this thing called Jump Box USMC, which, if you listen to the cadence, it really sounds a lot like Stargate SG-1. Okay, and
oh, you got muted.
You got frozen. He's coming back. I can say this about Pride and Prejudice, though. I think the reason you're still muted. I think the reason that
hit the D key. Sorry, go ahead, Ines.
The reason that Pride and Prejudice blew up so much was because of the significance. Darcy made Elizabeth significant, and that's what every woman wants, is to be significant.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was about the story of the two people and that journey from, well, if I'm not mistaken, from not liking each other very much to ultimate romance and people writing sequels. So many sequels.
Yeah.
What was that? Someone reached out. What?
I'm
Oh,
doing a Pride and Prejudice and Avengers crossover. So
Oh, that was perfect.
awesome. Ines, can we dig into John Wick a little bit? I'm really interested in that. Can you give us like a high level overview of the beats what made that such good exposition?
So I like to break things down into 5 parts. And I like to start with empathy. And I think what happened with John Wick, the reason that some of us don't want to watch it is because of the empathy. Like there is literally a term in screenwriting called save the cat, but there's also a term called pet the dog. So save the cat, we're meeting someone, the whole cat moment is a way to get us to like them, to identify, oh, that person is like me. I can identify with them. Oh, or that person has a strength that I wish I had because maybe they're a superhero. I want to be like them. Or, oh, that person is treated so awful. I feel so sorry for them. That's a save the cat moment. A pet the dog moment happens later in a movie where after you have gotten to know this person and you're reminded of either reminded of why you like them, like they're about to face their major ordeal.
yeah,
They have to come, but a dog, a metaphorical dog comes, usually in the form of a child or a mentor or someone's about to get killed. And you're reminded of that save the cat moment of why you felt that empathy. So John Wick he has very few lines, but they establish empathy in the beginning of the film and they keep poking at it. And then they have with the save the cat, and then they have a literal pet the dog moment with John Wick. So that's the arc of the movie.
Fascinating. So
Go on, but I'm gonna stop there.
does that dog moment happen towards the beginning?
There's 2 dog moments.
Oh,
There's a save the cat dog moment, and then there's a pet the dog
so
moment.
is that one of the plot points? Like later, like maybe the second plot point would be a kind of, because aren't you saying in effect that that's the pivot moment for the story where the hero rallies and comes back stronger?
Yes,
So-
it can be because sometimes we have anti-heroes, and John Wick is kind of an anti-hero because he's going around shooting people up, right?
Yeah.
But there's a moment where you rally to his side, even though he's on this murder, death, kills spree, but you rally to his side. Darcy has a moment like that when we see him with Elizabeth and he's doing that proposal and it goes awful, but then we see him come back and try to save her family. That's another pet the dog moment. So these moments are interchangeable. You would see this in one of my other favorite. I'm a Generation X, so I was weaned on Lethal Weapon, Danny Glover and Mel Gibson. So one of the things that you see as well, another pet the dog moment, if you remember in that first movie with Mel Gibson, where he was suicidal. He carried around a bullet that he was going to shoot himself with, a hollow point bullet.
Yeah.
But at the end of the movie, if you remember, he gives Danny Glover the hollow point bullet.
Spoilers.
If you are old enough to be on this stream,
I'm getting too old for this.
I don't know. That's a spoiler,
that was
boy.
funny.
You've already missed that flight.
That was funny.
See
That
how
was
these
good.
moments can work. And I think if authors take a moment to think about these 2 moments, like metaphorically, how can you save the cat? Metaphorically, how can you pet the dog? Those are 2 anchor points. Regardless if you're a plotter or a pantser, if you have those anchor points, you've got a story.
And that's been PlottCon, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
yeah, that's good. So
That's
what
all
do
you
they
need to
do with
know.
after they've got those moments? What do you do? Like what does that give them that they can use later in the story, or what does that do for them once they have those 2 moments?
Those are some anchor points. Kevin was talking about the second plot point.
Second plot point. Yeah.
Yeah, where you're turning. It's like stakes in the ground of the plot mountain. There's a lot of work that has to be done in the middle. Like a lot of us feel like our middle sag, but I like numbers, and I bet AI likes this stuff too. Ekello, where I love the idea of fun and games where I write romance. So I always think of 3 dates and a disaster. Or if it's a thriller, like 3 thrill rides, like 3 little bumps on the roller coaster before you come back down. So I like to think of it in that date. You still have a whole plot within that date. Or you still have a whole plot, a whole arc within the thrill ride, or the mystery, the clues that are going on. So I think if we break things down, if we have these stakes, and then we break things down in between the stakes. That's how we keep our story tight.
I like that.
Yeah.
We'll
And
have
this
to
is
talk
not
about that
allowed to
later.
read any of my books. She's not allowed to
Why
look
can't
at
I see your
anything I've written.
brilliance?
You can't
Why?
read anything I've written. I
She's
feel like
giving
I'm going to fall well
There's no
short.
stakes in his books. There's no stakes. He's
There's
got
no
nothing.
stakes. Yeah.
I was just happy that I made it within the 10 minutes for my professor's class. Holy crap. I felt the knowledge just pressing down on me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it was very well put. It's very well put.
Thank you for lining up the softball of Pride and Prejudice for me.
I aim to please.
So one of the questions I was thinking of asking, and so is there a character revelation in a story, and this could be movies or books, that completely caught you off guard?
Oh.
And have you analyzed that ever to think about it? So we'll go back. Which way did we go last time? I can't remember.
That was
go
me.
to Ekello first. Oh, you
No,
went
no,
that
no,
way
no,
first?
no.
Okay, so Ines, let's go that way. So was there a character revelation in a story that completely caught you off guard?
When I don't like to like villains, but when you make me do it, you're done good. So think Black Panther and Killmonger. Like, this guy he's off his rocker, and he's making really good points in his hero at the mercy of the villain speech. When you do that, that's another draw on the pet the dog. Like, if you have a villain, if you give them a reason near the end of the film or the story to pet a dog and make the audience care for them when we're not expecting it, like, that feels like the best kind of reversal betrayal that you can do. So that's one of my favorite things, when we're like, wait a minute, I agree with you.
Yeah. Man, I don't have a ready answer for this. I think there's a similar thing that happened, though, and we're going to stick with the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a second here, but like Thanos as a character in some respects was kind of right, so it's not so much about revealing his character as revealing the character of the audience. Like, you're watching and there comes a point, and maybe it came later for me. I don't know if it came like in the middle of Infinity War or something, but like there's a kind of reasonableness, even though what he's talking about is mass murder on a universal scale. There's a kind of reasonableness to what he's saying in terms of how we're thinking about resources in our world right now, right? So that idea of like having everything or cutting things down by half or whatever, and giving everyone else a chance to kind of start fresh, like some of that starts to make sense. So don't discount the audience as a character, by the way, in a film or book or any piece of fiction, because the whole point is that we're actively participating in this as we read. So we can surprise ourselves as much as any character might surprise us on screen or page.
Yeah, so talk about throwing people for a loop. Boy, I was not expecting that question. Way to keep us on our toes. Like, I was really trying to think like off the cuff on that. I think Maleficent is another one that does a really good job of that. And what I've noticed that we've all kind of said that we have in common is this idea of the origin story of the villain. And I believe this just as a person, but I think this does reveal what our beliefs are, is that I don't think anyone's born a villain. Villains are created. And how are those villains created, and what then causes that villainy to come out? And the villain is the hero of their own story. Like, there's no villain who wakes up and says, hey, I'm a villain. No, they are the hero of their story. And I think this is really important even for us as authors, that when we write a villain, if we want to write a good villain, part of that is making sure that villain's got that origin story and they've got that heroic side to them. And not necessarily that they are legit a hero, but think about every villain. The really good ones have a reason for being that villain. And in their mind, they're that hero. And so like flip that. And I think that is really what Maleficent did really well. So.
Weren't you listening, Troy? Danica just said that.
Yeah, see, it's not unknown. I mean, I probably did steal it from someone, let's be fair.
Kaiser Sose,
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
where you sit with this other character the entire film. As a matter of fact, that character is narrating the film, is bringing you through the entire thing, is the definition of a influence narrator. I'm sorry,
Unreliable.
a flawed narrator.
Unreliable.
Unreliable. Thank you. An unreliable narrator. It's the perfect definition. He was unreliable because he was the villain. He was the actual oops, sorry. Spoiler alerts. There's this movie.
All these spoilers.
There's this movie called Usual Suspects, and let's just say Kaiser Sose is not who you think he is. And in that moment when you realize that Kaiser's not only there and in the midst of the investigation, gathering information and moving people into weird directions while sitting in the middle of the whole thing. It wasn't just about some kind of weird narcissistic need to, the real surprise was the audacity of the villain to sit there with everything happening around him and be totally calm and in the moment and acting the part to the best of his ability. And that weird way that the plot just weaves and everyone is trying to figure out how to get to Kaiser Sose and never, ever, ever believing that man could be that close. No,
Yeah, I have to agree. That was some of the best, like, sleight of hand and storytelling I've seen on screen. I'm trying to think if I've seen anything comparable to that in, on the page, in a book.
Lee Bardugo has done that.
Of course, Ines has an example, like right there on the tip. He's like, well, Kevin's going to say this dumb thing, and then I'm going to come through and show him what it's like to actually be intelligent. Go ahead.
No,
here's your softball.
Lee Bardugo has done that in her books, but also there was a Netflix adaptation of her Six of Crow books.
That's it?
That's it.
We're done? Okay.
We're done. Just offering you the title.
I love it.
Now I have to go read that. Great.
I watched the Netflix.
I will send you a list of all the books that we talked about so you guys can all go read them and watch the movies.
Good job. Yeah.
That would be awesome. I want to see the list of all the books and movies we talk about.
You need a Plottr, like, film and book recommendation list for sure. Get some genius links.
Hey, Cameron, here's a shortcut. Just take the transcript and put it in Claude or something. And
there you go.
And then that spit out all the movies.
Yep, we were going to do that. Yep, good thinking. So it's interesting that you guys all chose villains, because I think the moment that I was thinking of when I thought of this question would be in Moana, when Moana puts the heart of Te Fiti in the lava monster, and it becomes Te Fiti, the goddess. It was that she just had lost her heart. And so also the villain that was actually not a villain, kind of like what you were saying, Danica. Why do you guys think that is, that they were all villains that we chose?
Here's the thing about villains. So without a villain, most stories don't work. And the truth about villains that we almost never want to admit is that that's the but for the grace of God scenario. We all see the villain a lot of times if the villain's not sympathetic in some way, it never works. Look, you
got to see their point of view.
Right. There has to be that sort of hook that comes from, I could see myself in this situation. I could see myself becoming that person, or maybe not becoming that person, but going down a similar road, or at least things going epically wrong, because of my bad choices. We've all had those. We all think like that. And so the villain ends up, almost none of us can relate to the heroes. You can relate to the hero at the early part of the hero's journey when they're a poor schmo just trying to figure life out and pay their rent or whatever. But there comes the turning point for heroes where we can no longer relate to them. We just hope that we could be that, where they gain the ring, or they gain the power, or whatever. Like, a lot of us can't relate to that, but we can relate to the villain, and we can relate to the villain's defeat and demise as well. And so subconsciously, that's our way of rooting for the villain, is because we see ourselves in that character.
A well-written villain is very empathetic. You're very sympathetic to their situation. No, empathetic to their situation. You feel what they possibly like. One more example. The original Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie.
Yeah.
There's I haven't even seen the second one, so I can't give you any either or reference or any comparisons or anything. But I will tell you that when I went and I sat down and I watched that film, there was a profound moment when you realized that there was no way out for him. He was fundamentally broken and from the beginning, and that everything was going to work against him because of his personality, who he was, how he had his mental problems, the fact that he wasn't even involved. I will not spoil that film for you too, but I will say that there are a lot of moments where you, as an individual watching the film, feel so much for Fleck and how he can't control himself, like he has a Tourette's sort of thing that won't stop, that he can't stop. And because of the cruelty and the realness of a society that has very disparate sorts of financial things going on, you see the system wearing down on him and the social system failing him and everything just spiraling out of control. And it's those moments that you go, oh, but for the grace of God.
Yeah.
You literally say to yourself, oh my God, I could be that person if I make one or two choices.
The line that sums up villainy for me comes back to Thanos again. All roads lead to Thanos. But his line was, I am inevitable. And I think that's actually the unspoken line of every good villain on screen or page. Because they see themselves as being in a scenario that they couldn't escape from. I'm inevitable. This is my destiny. This is what I have. This is who I am and who I had to become.
Well, and I think we have to remember that line between the hero and villain. It's always this tenuous line. So going back to favorite movies, one of my favorite movies is called Megamind. Love that movie.
I was literally just seeing that today. I was almost clicked on it today to watch it. Such a good movie.
So good. But what is that difference between the hero and the villain? Megamind starts out as the villain, but why? Yeah. But for the grace of God. I mean, the difference what was that he was cast into a world where he didn't have privilege. And then suddenly when he, through his own mistakes and his own villainy, somehow ends up cast into this role where he gets to be the hero. And, code, we are the good guy, like there is that line between like the choices we're given. And so the choices we're able to make and, what is in that deck of cards, what's in your hands that you're dealt. And so for him, like he again, started out in the world of villainy, but that transformation of Megamind into the hero. And what a beautiful story that was. And that power of transformation is that we all have those moments where we get that choice. And sometimes we don't get that choice, but like we have those different paths that we can go down. And like to have that ability to transform, I think is what's really, really powerful. Because again, like it's that fine line between who is the hero, who's the villain. And certainly, you know, even in normal human life, in our arguments and things like that, you know, Cameron and I could have a fight one day. God, I hope not. But, you know, like if you hear my side of the story, you're going to think Cameron's the villain. But if you hear Cameron's side of the story, you're going to think Cameron's the villain. And there's that fine line. And it's one I think that as storytellers, we get to dance with and really use that as an opportunity to look inside our own hearts and our own souls to say, okay, like, where can we be more heroic? Where is the villain within us? And play with that, because I think that's the magic of story.
Don't you
Yeah,
love
that is
subversion?
such a cool point. That is awesome.
Don't you love subversion of expectation?
No, but I saw that coming.
So let me give you a counterpoint to this discussion, though, because I love where this is going. But so what about Sauron in Lord of the Rings?
What
There
about
is no empathy. There is nothing that makes you like the guy or the thing. There is nothing, but yet people love Lord of the Rings.
He's as divorced from humanity as you can possibly get. He's literally a floating eye.
He's malignance.
Yeah.
He's the embodiment of malignance.
I want to hear Ines. Sorry, I can already see her.
Yes,
her,
please.
She's got an answer. She wrote a dissertation on this while we were all talking about Thanos.
When we were in diapers,
she totally got the questions ahead of time, everybody. That has to be it. She cannot be this much smarter than all of us, can she?
Oh, she can be.
What I would think about with Sauron is I think that there are some villains that we love to hate. There's some villains that we hate to love, but then there are also some villains who do their job. And I think the job is, we love found family. And if you think about Lord of the Rings is really about a found family, isn't it? It's about these people coming together and about people who have been together and their bonds get forged. And I think that he is the lodestone of keeping that family together, of really defining the boundaries of this is who we are and we are not him. So villains have different roles, and that's one of the roles.
Yeah, and I think there is sometimes just that villain, that there is just evil in the world. Like there is just evil that we can't explain. And sometimes as storytellers, we do a great job of explaining it, but then sometimes there is Sauron, and there is just that evil that exists. And we as humans, as people, need to come together. And, you know, whether that's that found family or just remembering those reasons why life is good and why we want to come together, because there is a reason for us to be together.
So Tolkien pretty famously did not like allegory and really claimed that the Lord of the Rings was not allegorical, which, hey, I'm making a serious point here, Ekello. No, I'm kidding.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. I feel the same way. It's clearly allegorical, because Sauron represented at a time where Tolkien was very preoccupied with sort of the advancement of culture and civilization, coming off of World War II, the sort of dehumanizing of everyone really, but the enemy, the sort of removal of nature from our everyday lives. That's the sort of, mechanized, heartless evolution of technology was what Sauron really represented. And so when you have a scenario like that, like we see great stories all the time that are like the principal enemy of the story is something like war or a natural disaster, or there are these things that are a force of nature that through our storytelling they take on a sort of personification, like they become the enemy, even though they are literally inevitable. Like there's no getting around the perfect storm. There's no getting around, the meteor that's heading to Earth. It doesn't have motive. It can't be reasoned with. That's what a character like Sauron really represents. But you do at that point, now you have to question: is that evil? Sauron was the personification of evil as well in Tolkien's world. But was he evil? Because if he really was inevitable, if he really was the embodiment of a concept more than a being, more than a thinking rational being, then in that sense, how could you say he's a villain? That's what makes that story so rich and interesting. Is no one's going to sympathize with Sauron, but it's kind of hard to, like, you can't quite get away from the implications of Sauron.
So you're like, how do you make something like a tornado in the movie Twister the villain?
Yeah.
Is it
Right.
really the villain, or is it just the force of nature that you're trying to work against?
The protagonist becomes the source of their own villainy, because the protagonist is chasing this tornado, right? Like they put themselves in that situation, but then they have to overcome the obstacle that thing represents. If you've got a story about someone climbing Everest and you've got the challenges of Everest, the mountain and the environment become the villain. But why is the protagonist there? They weren't just magically transported there. They put themselves there.
They made the choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That was a lot of words.
Oh,
I hope someone meant something.
And just really quickly, I once told my someone I used to love a long time ago that no, people don't read titles to find good stories or headlines to find good stories. Just like Tolkien said that he isn't do this for the allegorical thing, I'm pretty sure that we were both wrong. We were both wrong. I was wrong. People do look at titles in order to find out what they want to read. And what he wrote completely from beginning to end, including the hobbits and their beautiful little shire.
Yeah.
Okay. I was wrong. I was wrong. So maybe he was too.
Could somebody please snip that and then send that to his wife, because it'll really mean a lot.
I've already grabbed that as a soundbite. I've got it. It's currently playing over and over again in my headphones.
I'm sorry. I have feelings and I have to express them sometimes. So there.
So we've only got a few minutes left. This has been a great discussion. I want to open it up to the audience to see if they have any questions for you. And if not, I've still got plenty that we can talk about in the few minutes. Oh, interesting.
Okay. Here's my 30-second spiel. Artificial intelligence is a tool. Back in the day, there was this thing called Photoshop. It became a tool for artists to create better photos. I was a photographer. I used Photoshop for a very long time, and it helped me, enhanced my output, and made things faster. If you take care, if you're an artist, if you do the right thing, artificial intelligence can help you sing. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Okay. Can I add to that, even though I know it was a question for Ekello, because I have a podcast called Brave New Bookshelf, and I do that with Steph Pajonas from the
Yes, you
Future
do.
Fiction Academy. Yeah, and we talk a lot about AI. And one of the episodes we did recently was this idea that I think AI has made us better storytellers, because what ends up happening is you can use the AI, and as you're talking to it about story and realizing what's missing from the story. For example, as a romance writer, I can tell you AI does a terrible job of a Black moment. And I love what Ines was saying earlier about the disaster, and AI is terrible at that. But as a writer, when I'm reading a story that isn't satisfying, I can tell you almost always it's because that disaster isn't big enough.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, what AI has done is helped me look at stories more critically because when you've got to talk to the AI, you have to explain what works about a story and why.
Yeah.
And so
It
for me,
solidifies your own notions of your voice. You say to
exactly.
yourself, well, no, you can't just, how about this? Ben Affleck had a very nice quote a few weeks ago talking about how AI does not know when to stop. You are the artist, you are the tastemaker, you are the person that gets to be discerning and move things in the right direction. One of the best parts of working with AI with me is that high level ability to direct exactly what happens in a scene and to see what the AI comes up with as a way to get through my direction of the navigation of the scene. And so I personally think AI is a tool, and that tool can be used all the way up to generating a book with very few prompts and everything, all the way down to breaking down each scene yourself and then having the AI expand on that, or add parts to sentences, or fix sentence structure, or even edit stuff so you don't like a name. How about this? You don't like a name in a story and you've been just dealing with the name the whole time. You're like, I don't feel like going through here and then doing the cut, this, and the. You can just say, I want you to get rid of this name and replace it with that name, and do this other thing while you're at it, and it will rewrite your whole thing exactly the same and just line edit for you. There's something called Canvas inside of ChatGPT right now on the web. You can use it on the web if you have the Pro edition. It's a lot of fun to just kind of play around with your writing and clean things up and stuff like that. So, oh, thank you.
Yeah, this has been such a great conversation. I wish we could go on longer. There's a lot that we could dig into more here, like the beats that we talked about at the beginning with John Wick, and the villains that we talked a ton about, and there's just so many things and so many more spoilers we could give people that we better stop ourselves right now before we give any more. But thank you so much, each one of you, for joining us. This has just been amazing. We need to do this again sometime. I think this is really cool and it's been really valuable. Hopefully you guys like this.
Yeah, this was super fun. I'm totally down to do it again.
Yes,
okay.
I would absolutely.
This was all right.
Yeah.
I love it. You know what, Ines? I love your boards in the back. That is a writer's room of, and I can tell that person's an architect, not a gardener.
I'm Russell said I was more than one thing. First he said I was a desert.
What?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. I need to take that thing. I haven't figured out what I am yet. So you're a desert. All right.
No, I'm a desert and something else. I can't remember what the other thing was because I was fixated on I'm a desert.
I'm the water one. I'm the ocean one, whatever that means.
I'm a grassland.
Maybe it was that. It was desert and
Grassland. Okay,
I'm
there
a
you go.
forest fire.
I'm just a
Well,
good
Kevin,
I'm just a
stop
good
playing
old
with
fashioned.
Yeah.
I'm just a good old fashioned wizard. I like to conjure.
I thought you were a god.
Oh, true that. But
And-
how do you think the wizard got the powers, baby?
I will say though, because of my favorite movie, you're on the right track. Because of course, if someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes.
Nicely done.
Nice.
That is a great way to end this.
Yes.
All of you, if you're ever asked if you're a god, then just respond yes.
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. The next session, which is the last session of PlottCon, will be in about 5 minutes. So we're going to take a break. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. This has been great. Take care.
Bye.